You do not have experiences unless those experiences are the perfect experiences for you to have, even when they are the imperfect experience. You are manifesting your life. Your life is feedback data on who you are being. So you are not creating events and people and scenarios and conditions, but rather you are Hi, I'm Muzz iEvolv. Thank you very much for being here this week. You may not be aware, but every one of these videos I create for you guys is an entire day of my life. So to do all the preparation at the beginning where I do my meditation, then I speak to you guys in this little dialogue, then I have a dialogue with my guides, and then I do the channeling, then I do the editing, then I do the story, then I create the thumbnail, then I create the posting, and then I upload it. That's actually a full day of work. And if you've been following me for a while, you notice that I don't really grow because I was shadow banned. YouTube decided they don't really like the ethos of my message in January this year, so I don't really grow anymore. That means I depend very heavily on your support to just like the video, share the video, leave a comment. It really makes a difference because YouTube don't want me here. But I'm still here because I really want to share this message. And one of the ways that you can help, and just sort of as a thank you to me, thank you for spending a whole day of your life every single week to create this video for me, is just to go click and just click that like. That would be wonderful. If you could make that the habit, if you do come here regularly to see my videos, if you just make the habit just to click that like while you're here every single time, that'd be wonderful. I'd really appreciate that. My new book, I'm going to increase the price of this book to $7. It's not because I want to make more money from you, but I spoke to somebody who knows much more about these things than I do, and they said, why would you sell a book at a price which is weird, like a $5.40 price? Who sells anything at $5.40? He said, what this will be doing is just confusing people because it's just not a mainstream number to be selling a book. Sell it for $7. It'll just be better for you, better for your audience, less confusion, and you'll get more people reading your book. As this person is an expert, I perceive them as an expert, and they have a track record to prove it, I'm just going to follow their advice. So I'm going to increase the price to $7. So if you are thinking about getting your copy and you just haven't done it yet, well then now's the time, because I'm hoping by the time you come back next week, I will have done what is necessary to change the price and then all of my marketing to reflect that it's now $7. So it's only $1.60. It really makes no difference in your life, but if you don't want to spend an extra $1.60, then get your copy this week. And the way that you do that is go below and you'll see a link which takes you to the page which tells you more about that book. Also, this continues to be a book which people love when they read it. I've never had anyone say anything to me other than very high praise for this book. It's quite possible that people who hate it just don't tell me, but it seems that the praise is of such a high quality that it's unlikely that someone's read this and thought it was garbage. So if you want a book that can really transform the way that you perceive yourself and the world and the way that you integrate into your creator and so on, then this will open your eyes, I think, and open your mind to some ideas that you perhaps haven't contemplated before. The link for this is also below. It is available in the audio ebook and also in the paperback as well. My other book, it's only in audio and ebook. This is the only paperback book I have at the moment. So on to today's topic. It is, what is perfect imperfection? Now, before I begin today, I must warn you that this person I have that is giving me some coaching on what I'm doing, they live in the UK, I live in Asia, so I was up until extraordinarily late last night in a conversation with them, so I am feeling tired because I woke up at the same time I always do. I haven't had much sleep. I'm feeling a little worn. So I will do my best to bring you something which is of the quality I normally do. But please just keep in mind that it's been a hectic week. Okay, here we go. Greetings and thank you for the question. What is perfect imperfection? We decided to discuss this particular topic in this session because last session we made a statement that all gurus are imperfect. For some that may seem a little offensive because it is the tendency of humans to consider whatever prophet or messiah they follow, to think of them as being perfect beings. And in some regard, it could be argued quite satisfactorily that they are perfect. However, from the expanded context, when you're looking at what is occurring far beyond what takes place here on your earth, far beyond what takes place within your particular density, then there is still so much more expansion to be achieved that it is an imperfect being that has not yet fully expanded into their entirety, which would culminate in them having the full realization and coalescence back into the one true identity, which is the one, God, Creator, the prime being. So it is from that context that we use this idea of the imperfect guru. However, this is a somewhat depressing and discouraging sentiment because if your exalted gurus and messiahs and prophets are in fact imperfect, then what does this say about you? You, the average person, who lives your average life and is by no means saintly. You do well, you mean well, but you do falter, you do cast judgments and make poor decisions and think ill thoughts. So you are also the imperfect being, even more so than your exalted ones. So to remedy this, or to bring balance to this idea, then we would like to introduce this concept of perfect imperfection. And so within this new concept, you are a perfect being and you are living in a perfect environment, and your experience is a continuous succession of perfect moments. This context of the perfect and the imperfect coinciding to the point where it is a single being, a single individuation of the one which is both perfect and imperfect at the same time, is characteristic of the one or the all's tendency for paradox, where you have two entirely diametrically opposed conditions not only coinciding in the same area, but literally coinciding within the same being. There is this one entity that is two opposing things at exactly the same time, and having two opposing experiences at exactly the same time. And when we say opposing experiences, we mean that they are having an experience which could be perceived as paradox of two different conditions at the same time. So for example, something could happen in your life and it is literally the worst thing that ever happened to you. However, because of this particular event, there is a cascade of events and moments until eventually you arrive at a place where the best thing that could ever happen to you has now just occurred. And when you trace it back, you realize it occurred because of this worst moment which occurred earlier. So, now this worst moment is both the best thing and the worst thing that could have happened to you, yet it is the same moment. This is the paradox. And so you are an imperfect being, and yet you are a perfect being at the same time. You also are a paradox. The one wishes to know itself experientially. And so for this to occur, it needs to have all possible experiences for it to know itself to completion. If there are experiences which are possible, which have not yet occurred, then this means the one's knowing of itself experientially is still incomplete. And it will be incomplete until that particular experience has occurred and all others have also occurred. And so, experiences that you are having, these experiences are absolutely essential, regardless of how you perceive it. It's great, it's bad, it doesn't matter. It is irrelevant because the one wants to have that experience. And if your sequence of moments have brought you to a particular place in your life where you are now at this very moment having a particular experience, then that is the perfect experience for you to have to contribute in the most perfect way for the one to know itself to completion. Also, you do not have experiences unless those experiences are the perfect experiences for you to have, even when they are the imperfect experience. You are manifesting your life. Your life is feedback data on who you are being. So you are not creating events and people and scenarios and conditions, but rather you are perceiving what you have manifested into your experience. All conditions, everything is already pre-existing. Even those items which have not even been manufactured yet, they already exist. And this is because when the one created the all, in the coding, it created the potential for everything that will ever exist to exist. For every condition, every moment, every experience, every scenario is already pre-coded into the context of the all. And when you have a particular experience, what you have done is you have resonated with something that is in the infinite field of potential. And so it has then manifested into your experience and you have perceived it. So you are not a being of creation, you are a being of perception. The only true creator is your creator. And even though you are an individuation of your creator, and you seem to have been endowed with the powers of creation, because you can make things, you can literally get things to happen, bring them into your experience, this is illusory, because you yourself are an illusion. Another paradox, because of course you are very real. You are a very real individuation of the one. And it is absolutely essential that you exist, because the one cannot achieve its ultimate purpose, which is to know itself to completion through the vehicle of experience, unless you exist. If you did not exist, it literally would be unable to achieve the final outcome. Yet at the same time, you are an illusory being, because there is only one. And the one created the context of more than one so that it could have the experience through the many perspectives it created of something other than itself. So you are real, and yet you are not real. So these moments that you are perceiving, that you are bringing into your experience, is occurring on the basis of your vibratory signature. And your vibratory signature is arising from your thoughts, and your thoughts are arising from your beliefs. And this stepping stone path from beliefs to thoughts to vibration to manifestation means that you are bringing to you a perfect reflection of who you are being, because your experience is feedback data on who you are being. That is its purpose, to provide you with feedback data so you can observe your experience and analyze and be introspective about your experience, and then make deductions about what this says of your beingness. Who am I being if I'm having this experience? I don't want this experience. So how must I change my beingness so that I have my preferred experience? And the only way that you can make this decision, you can make this understanding, this discernment, is if you are receiving the moments which are exactly a perfect match to your vibratory signature, to your state of being. So, by definition then, your every moment is the perfect moment, because it is a literal 100% manifestation of your vibratory signature. It is imbued somewhat with the nuance of the nation you live in, the family you're born into, the gender, and so on. However, within that context, all things being equal, it is an absolute, perfect reflection of your state of being. So, you can then make decisions about your state of being which will shift you into a different line, a different procession of moments which are more reflective of what it is you prefer to experience, because you are being the being which has those preferred experiences. So in short, you are being who you prefer to be. So, let us finish in this way. The main point that we wish to make in this discussion is that regardless of what experiences befall you or uplift you, they are the perfect experience. And whatever person comes into your life, whatever person leaves your life, this is what is perfect for you. And regardless of what your financial situation is, if you have a very buoyed financial situation, if things are going crazy and money is flooding out the doors, down the drain, your business is going bankrupt, this is nonetheless the perfect experience for you. And so it serves you to always be mindful of this. You live in the eternal state of perfect imperfection, or imperfect perfection, depending on which way you like to come at it. So if you are living in perfection, then this is something to be grateful for. This is something to give thanks to your Creator and the context it has given you, in which you can manifest these perfect conditions, these perfect moments, these perfect scenarios. So you can continue your march along the path of divine purpose, thereby fulfilling the one's purpose at the highest level of service that you can. When you start doing this very mindfully, very consciously, thereby, when you live in this way and you start being grateful about every moment, then this is going to now shift your vibratory signature. Because instead of holding a vibratory signature, which is filled with despair and dread and victimhood, and why me? Why is this happening again? Always it goes the same way. Every time I have a relationship, it ends the same way. Every time I try to start a business, it ends the same way. Every time I try to build savings, it ends the same way. Why? It is because you are not changing your vibratory signature. Your state of being is remaining the same. And your life, your experiences, is feeding this back to you. It is giving you the data. It's putting it in your face. Look at what you are being. Look at your vibratory signature. This is the physical manifestation of that. Pay attention. This is your opportunity to shift, to do it differently. This is what your life is trying to tell you. The one, the all, your experiences, they all love you. They all want you to journey along the path to fully knowing and realizing who and what you are. So, if you are grateful for that moment, regardless of the content of that moment, then now you are shifting your vibratory signature. Something in the past that you would have said, oh my goodness, this is the worst thing that's happened to me this month. But now instead you say, this is wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for this learning experience. Thank you for this insight. Thank you for this feedback data, which is perfectly aligned with my state of being. So there can be no doubt when I become skilled at this, at understanding what my vibratory quality is by observing and analyzing that experience I just had. Thank you. Thank you with great love and honor, my Creator. Now, this shift in the vibratory signature is going to start bringing to you experiences which are a vibratory match with that. What is that? It is gratitude. It is love. It is appreciation for the experiences you are having. And so now your experience is going to start reflecting back to you this new energetic state. So now you will begin to have experiences which are very easy to feel grateful about. It's not you denying reality or doing mental gymnastics to get yourself to like an experience that actually secretly you really hate. Because this is how the mechanism works. It is a perfect reflection of your state of being. And so now these new experiences come into your life, and it's much easier now than before to be grateful for this moment, because it is a moment which is very aligned with the type of moments you would like to have. So there is now a deeper richness in your sincerity about your appreciation and gratitude for that moment. And so now you've got the flywheel. Now you have the upward spiral. Because this new richness, this greater depth of intensity of the gratitude and love and appreciation for that moment is going to be reflected back to you in your experience with moments which are even greater quality of that particular flavor. And upwards and upwards and upwards and upwards you now go. So, regardless of your experience, love the experience, every experience, and be grateful for whatever scenario you find yourself in, whatever event, whatever circumstance. It should be irrelevant of how it actually impacts your life, what it actually does to you, how it makes you feel in a knee-jerk gut reaction. Regardless of that, bring yourself back to a place of wisdom, of peace, of inner silence and paucity, and make the decision in a very mindful and conscious way to give thanks to your experience, to give thanks to your Creator, and also to give thanks to yourself for this divine gift of further awakening. Thank you. and we love you. Thank you for making it to the end of another channeling session. And I'm going to tell you a story about a place that I lived when I was 5 years old. And I thought it was a great place. I just liked it. So I'm going to tell you about it. My parents moved into this house in Sydney, just renting it. But what made this house special wasn't actually the house, but it was the yard. The house was just an average house, just a cheap place. We weren't wealthy people. But the backyard was gigantic. So we had 4 neighbours. We didn't have 2 neighbours, we had 4 neighbours because our backyard was so big that on both sides we had 2 neighbours. And so our block was the length of 2 blocks. And in the backyard, in the corner, was this gigantic mulberry tree. So I can remember walking out the back, opening the back door when I was like 5 years old, and the back of the yard, it just seemed so far away. Like if I'm going to go there, I've got to say goodbye to Mum before I leave. Like I'm going on a journey. Like I should take a bottle of water and pack a sandwich just to the walk to the end of the backyard. Because of the size of the backyard, it was a popular place for other kids to come and play. And one of the things we would love to do is get into the mulberry tree, because the mulberry tree was a really, really big tree. And you know how when trees get huge, the trunk kind of splits at the top, and then the brow just bends and becomes like a ledge. And so we would climb up there and we'd get onto the ledge, and so it'd be like a platform. So this is the center of the trunk, and then the trunk would split and have a bough going that way, a bough going this way, and together it was kind of like a flat surface. You could run along it. It was that big. And we get up there and we're kind of like crawling around and running around and jumping and carrying on in this tree. And then when it would be mulberry season, we would eat our full of mulberries, because there were thousands and thousands and thousands of mulberries in this tree. And they were super juicy. And when we'd had enough mulberries to eat, obviously the next thing you do with them is you throw them at each other. And so we would get up in this mulberry tree and we'd start throwing them at each other, me and the neighbourhood kids and my brother. And I can remember one particular time I did this, and it was getting a bit sweaty, so I took off my shirt and I was wearing a singlet underneath. And I knew nothing about stains and getting clothes dirty, and especially white clothes. And so I'm wearing a pristine white singlet and I'm in a mulberry fight. And mulberries are like beetroot. I mean, that kind of stuff's difficult to get out of any clothes, especially white. And so the end of this battle, we're looking at the wounded, looking around, and I am just purple. My shirt has got so many purple stains from getting hit by these super juicy mulberries. And I was like, yeah, man, this is like a sign of triumph, you know, covered in all these mulberries. And then I went back to the house and Mum had a conniption when she saw the state of my white singlet. And I had no idea what the problem was. I just couldn't get it. I was like, what? I'm fine. Look, it's not blood. It's not blood. But of course that wasn't her concern. The concern wasn't that I was mortally wounded. It was that I had mortally stained the singlet. Actually, now when I think back to it, I think that's when I first realised that there are some things you don't want to get on your clothes because it's a problem. Well, it's a problem for your mum anyway. And particularly if that piece of clothing is white and that particular stain is the beetroot mulberry purple. And I've carried that through with me for the rest of my life. But besides that, it's just kind of a magical experience. And when I think back of all the places I lived, that one holds a special memory for me, just because the backyard was like an adventure zone. It was just a great place. Okay, that's all for this week. I love you, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.